Did you know that on average, we spend roughly 28% of our time managing and dealing with emails? 28%. Now, that is a lot of time, particularly when that time is completely unnecessary when we're using modern Outlook. There are so many tools and techniques that we can employ to make the management of our Outlook inboxes so much simpler. Now, I'm going to hazard a guess that you're one of the majority of people who currently uses Outlook like this. You launch the application in the morning when you get to your desk, and you're presented with hundreds, maybe even thousands of emails just sitting there in your inbox. And you probably find yourself spending large parts of your day trying to find specific emails that you need. You may have employed some kind of folder system and set up some subfolders underneath your inbox in an attempt to organize and manage your emails a little bit better. Now, I'm not dissing subfolders, we're going to cover those in this lesson, but there are much better ways of using Outlook so you can get back that 28% of your time and work towards achieving that elusive inbox zero. That's what we're going to cover in this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Let's get into it. I think we're all guilty of being a little bit too reactive when emails drop into our inbox. We have this sense of urgency that we need to drop everything that we're doing and respond to the email immediately. And that is simply not the case for the majority of emails. Now, what tends to happen if you do work in a more reactive way is that we could be focusing on something and in the corner of our eye, we see that notification pop up. And so we're then distracted away off of what we're doing onto looking and dealing with that new email. And if we're doing that every single time an email comes in, then it just makes us a lot less efficient and takes us a lot longer to complete our tasks. So instead of being reactive, a much more efficient way to work is to set aside some time every single hour, specifically to read through any emails. Now, the time frame you choose is entirely up to you. I like to set aside about 10 to 15 minutes an hour to check my inbox for those new emails. And if you find it helpful, you could even schedule this 10 to 15 minutes into your calendar so that you remember to do it. You could set up a reminder so that you know now is the time to break away from the task that you're focused on to checking any emails that have come in the last hour. And if you're one of those people who really does find those pop-ups distracting, what I would suggest you do is that if you have scheduled 15 minutes to check your inbox, close your Outlook down and turn off your Windows notifications for mail. That means you're not going to get those pop-ups in the corner. You can focus on what you need to focus on until the time comes for you to check your email. Now, I realize in the real world, it's not always convenient to have Outlook closed down. You might be working on emails, looking through folders, things like that. So what you could do is keep Outlook open and just switch to work offline mode. That means you're not going to receive any pop-ups or notifications, but you can still keep Outlook open and work with your email. So we've set aside 15 minutes each hour just to do a check of our email. And we can see that we have quite a few emails sitting in our inbox. This is where we can then start to employ the 4 Ds of email management. Delete it, do it, delegate it, or defer it. So let's deal with the first one, delete it. So the first thing to determine when you're looking at your email list is, do we need this email? If we don't need it, then delete it. Delete absolutely everything that is unimportant and that you're not going to need to reread. Remember, when you delete an email, it moves from your inbox or whichever folder you've deleted it from into the deleted items folder. So when you delete an email, it's not removed from your system straight away, it's temporarily moved to the deleted items folder, and this folder is set to permanently delete after a specified amount of time. And that amount of time can very much depend on your company's settings. It's usually 60 to 90 days. So if you do delete an email in error, it is very simple to get it back up until that point in time. You can simply jump to the deleted items folder, you'll see everything in there, and then you can grab the email and just drag and drop it back to the folder that it belongs in. Now, if you would prefer the deleted items folder to be cleared out every single day, i.e. all of the mails permanently deleted, then you can change a setting within Outlook options. If we go up to File and down to Options, and if we go to the advanced page, you can see underneath Outlook Start and Exit, we have an option here to empty deleted items folders when exiting Outlook. So if you check this box, every time you come out of Outlook, it's going to clear out that deleted items folder for you. So just remember that. And it's always a good idea before you start deleting anything or moving emails to folders to go through and check to see if there are any emails that you can unsubscribe from. Maybe you have some newsletters or maybe some sites that you've joined that you're no longer really interested in. Make sure that you go down and click the unsubscribe button. But remember, there is always, or there should always be, a little link at the bottom of every single email that will allow you to easily unsubscribe. And it just means that you won't receive any of that junk mail into your inbox going forward. So we've deleted all of our unimportant mail. The next D is do it. So if there is an email that's come in that's going to take you a short amount of time to deal with it straight away. So we're talking about emails that maybe just need a quick response, something that's going to take you less than 3 minutes. Maybe you just need to reply with a thank you or send a quick document through. All of those types of things are super easy and super quick, so get them done straight away. Don't just leave them sitting in your inbox. Once you've dealt with these quick emails, you then need to decide what you're going to do with that email. So we then go back to choosing to delete it, or we could archive it if it's something that we need to keep for our records. There are some emails that even when you've dealt with them, you might need to keep them for auditing purposes. This is where you could utilize your archive folder in your inbox. Now, I've always found there is a lot of confusion about this archive folder and exactly what it does. A lot of people have the misconception that when you move items or emails from your inbox or any other folder into this archive folder, you're reducing the size of your mailbox. And I'm here to tell you that you're not. The archive in this instance is simply another folder underneath your inbox. So by moving emails from your inbox to the archive, the email's still there, it's not reducing your mailbox size. However, it does get the email out of your inbox and into a safe place where you can then go into that archive folder and use your search options if you ever need to go back and reference that email. So once you've dealt with a quick email, delete it, archive it, or you could move it to another folder that you've set up. And we're going to talk more about subfolders and archiving towards the end of this video. The third of the D's is delegate it. So if this is an email that somebody else needs to deal with, maybe a colleague, then you need to forward that email on to them and they can deal with it. Anything that's not for you, forward it on. Once you've forwarded it, you can then decide what you want to do with the original email, delete it, archive it, or move it to a folder. And the final one of the D's is defer it. Now, this is for emails that are going to take you a little bit longer to respond to. So these would be emails where you need to provide a thorough response, something that's going to take you kind of longer than 5 to 10 minutes to deal with. And for anything that's going to take a fair amount of time, this is where you can employ something called time boxing. Now, you may have heard of time boxing. It's definitely a buzzword in the industry at the moment, but really all it is the art of blocking out time in your calendar to perform specific tasks. In this case, dealing with a longer email. So maybe I have an email from my colleague Harry that's going to require me to go away, do some research, pull in some resources, and it's probably going to take me about 30 to 45 minutes. I could jump across to my Outlook calendar and block off that time so that I know that I have a specific set amount of time to deal with this email. You could block off the time by adding in an appointment, or you could utilize the new focus time button in Outlook. This ensures that the email is going to get dealt with at a specific time and isn't just going to get left. Now, if you are dealing with a longer email and maybe you don't have time to respond to it straight away, you want to do it a bit later on in the day, this is where you can also start employing things like flags and categories just to make your life a little bit easier. So if I've got this email just here, let's just say it's this one, and I'm going to follow up on this a bit later on in the day. I've got the time blocked off in my calendar. I can simply right click. I can go to follow up. I can do today if I want to, so that I have that item flagged. If it relates to a specific project, I can right click, go to categorize, and I can see all of my categories just here. So maybe this is related to project beta. I can select project beta. And remember, with these categories, right click again, we can go to all categories and see all of them just here. If we want to create new categories, we simply click on the new button. We can assign a color to it and even a keyboard shortcut to make it so much easier. And one of the big advantages of assigning flags and categories to emails is that we can then then use them to quickly find our emails. For example, if I click the drop down here, you can see that currently I'm sorting my emails by date. So the most recent is at the top. I could choose to sort them by categories or flag status. Alternatively, I can click in the search bar at the top, and once again, I can choose to search by specific categories. So if I want to see all of the emails that I've tagged as Project Beta, I can simply select Project Beta from here, and I can quickly find everything that I've categorized underneath that project. And remember, if you are managing multiple mailboxes, as I am just here, I have 4 different mailboxes attached, and you want to search across all of them, make sure that you adjust the scope before you run the search. So at the top here, I'm just searching on the current mailbox. If I wanted to search across all of my mailboxes for emails that I've flagged as Project Beta, I would need to change the scope to all mailboxes. So don't forget about that. Once you're happy, you can close your search. So for emails that you've deferred or you're going to deal with at a later time, employing categories and flags is really going to help you when it comes to finding them again. And if you find yourself running the same search over and over again, maybe you're searching for emails that you've flagged that have attachments, then instead of running the search options manually each time, you could create a search folder. If we go down to search folders in our folder list, right click and select new search folder, this allows us to define our criteria. So I could say that I want to run a search for mail flagged for follow-up, categorized mail, and I'm going to choose Project Beta. Click on OK and OK again. And you can see now we have a new folder called Project Beta. You can right click and rename this to whatever you like. And every time I click on this, it's going to run that search with that criteria. So I don't have to mess around up here with the search bar and the different options. So that is also super useful. Now, of course, we've got this far through the video without talking about subfolders at all. And subfolders is really the way that I see most people organizing their email. As I mentioned at the beginning, generally people will have everything in their inbox and then they'll move specific emails across to subfolders that they have set up. Now, that is absolutely fine in theory, but what generally tends to happen is that over the years that you're using Outlook, you end up with hundreds of folders. I've done it myself. I'm very guilty of doing this. And once you have hundreds of folders in your list, you're then back to having that same problem. Finding specific items when you need them is more difficult. So my biggest tip when it comes to subfolders is that, yes, sure, use them, but limit the amount of folders that you create. And I'll give you an example. If we follow the rule of the 4 Ds, we should find that we have a limited amount of emails in our inbox at the end of the day anyway. Really, the only emails we should have left in there are the ones that we've deferred effectively. Emails that are longer, they're going to require a longer amount of time to respond to. And maybe we don't want to do them today, we want to do them tomorrow or next week. So instead of just having those sitting in my inbox, I'll create a folder called Action. So let's right click on the inbox, go to New Folder, and I'm just in the habit of adding an @ symbol. You don't have to. You can name your folders however you like. But that's how I like to have mine. I have an action folder, and then anything that I've deferred or need to deal with later, I can then simply move across to the actions folder. And this process just makes it a lot clearer in my mind as to what I still need to deal with and anything new that I have coming into my inbox. And if you're concerned about forgetting to click on the action folder, you can set your Outlook so that when you open it up in the morning, it automatically defaults to this specific folder. How do you do that? Well, we go up to File, down to Options, go to Advanced, and then underneath Outlook Start and Exit, notice we have Start Outlook in this folder. And of course, the default is Inbox, but you could browse, expand your inbox, and choose the folder that you want Outlook to open in. So for me, that would be @Action. Now, the final point I want to talk about in this video today is auto-archiving. I briefly mentioned archiving earlier on, where we talked about moving emails that we'd like to keep or emails that we need to retain to the archive folder. But I did say that this doesn't reduce the size of your mailbox. I know that when I used to work at a law firm, a common problem amongst staff was that their email inboxes would always fill up because they tend to have to retain a lot of emails. And I would always hear people on the phone to the IT department saying that their mailbox was full, they can't send or receive any emails. So how do we deal with an issue like that? Well, first of all, it's always handy to know where to go to check the size of your mailbox so you can see if you're getting close to the limit. Now, we do that by going up to File, into Tools, and Mailbox Cleanup. And the first button we have there is View Mailbox Size. So you can see here it's now calculating, it's going through all of my folders, and this is just for one of my mailboxes. Remember, I've got about 4 attached. This is just for Trainer Deb. And I can see the total size here, including subfolders. So I can scroll through and I can see which folders are taking up the most room. And what you'll usually find is that your deleted items folder is always the largest folder. And that is a super easy fix. You can go in and you can delete everything from the deleted items folder. Notice here we have view deleted items size. I don't have a great deal in mine. But if we wanted to quickly empty this out, we also have an empty button just there. That's a really quick win when it comes to reducing the size of your mailbox. Another couple of tools that we have in here when it comes to finding out what's taking up all of the space in our mailbox is this find option just here. So we can choose to find items that are older than a specific amount of days. So maybe you've got emails lurking around somewhere that are like 1-2 years old. You could choose find items older than and then select the amount of days. Or you can find items larger than a specific file size. And we also have an auto archive button just here. Now, if I were to click this button, what it's going to do is it's going to look through my mailbox for items that are older than 90 days, and it's going to automatically move them to a separate PST file, therefore reducing the size of my mailbox. And if we just go back to Tools, we also have Clean Up Old Items. This is where we can manually auto archive. So when we click the auto archive button, it just automatically does it for us. Here we can get a little bit more specific about what we're archiving. So I could choose to archive this folder, the inbox, for example, and all of its subfolders. Maybe I just want to auto archive mails that I've got in the Microsoft folder. I can select that from here. I can choose the date and archive items older than that date, and then I can choose to archive them to a completely different PST file. So let's choose the action folder as an example. I'm going to click on OK. I don't really have anything in there, but if we go back to our Outlook, what happens is now at the bottom of my folder list, I have this new archives area. And if I click to open it, you can see this is where those emails are stored. They're in a completely different mailbox, and that's why it reduces the size, because we're moving them from one PST file to another. You can see there is, if I expand the inbox, the @actions folder, and that contains all of the emails. As I said, I didn't have anything in there. I just wanted to show you how it appears in this folder list. So it's still super easy to access, even if you create that automatic archive. Now, of course, there are so many other tools available in Outlook to help you with your mail management. But hopefully you've learned a few new techniques there, and your understanding of how to manage mail has grown since the start of this video. Employ all of these and you should find that at the end of the day, you have the elusive inbox zero, and you can come in the morning and just start working on the emails that you deferred the day before. As always, let me know what you thought about this video down in the comments. If you enjoyed it, then maybe consider subscribing or at least give us a little like. Leave a comment. I do try and respond to everything. But that is it for today, guys. I will see you next time. Bye.